他这里啊，这个现在呃这路路这里边当不起是给我嘛嘞，那这里就告诉了，就一些老其实你不穷不嘞，哎，俺那的这的水流下用的，现在，俺那些的日本怎么样的，直接给买名字，俺就日本的挣钱，这就挣钱，俺就学下来呀，làm sao chỉ không thiếu được dùng đó thì đây như sao này anh làm bao nhiêu tiền để đó còn đã được sao thì như sao này chỉ làm bao nhiêu ya thì chỉ ta sao rồi thì sẽ như sao ta phải gì ta nhớ mà tôi sẽ làm mấy sự sao để dùng được chứ sao anh chắc chắn chúng ta sẽ làm chúng tôi 오늘 인주산에 미세다 강한 배지 리셰 어디 니셰지 칸데 아까라 하우르샤 리버시아바 무고데 아니 니버시아바데 지 칸에 마토야 카보르스도 엔드리 인주산에 다 그들 저는 얘네 아주 디 아주 캠보 까메 캠보 다 까메 캠보 캠보르나 선나 까메 캠보르 제다 얘기 사실모나 저저를 뒤도하는 말이 쉬샤위미나 아니 그지 공부강 투즈를 용 미용의 상태들을 제소 근데 뉴스안에 디시샤스들 마슈죠지
So today in providing some teachings, as you may know, earlier there were no such programs and therefore no such plans for teaching. Later on some requests had come and actually I had come here with the hope to get some more relaxed time to relax. And so, with that in mind, I did not have the chance to direct my mind or focus towards teaching in a specific way, which is usually required. And so on top of that, the teaching is starting in the evening, it's already dark, and so such times draws one's mind more inwardly and thinking that all that is left is to sleep. And so, under such circumstances, and to talk about, anything like Mahamudra is sort of contradictory to the circumstance. And let alone being able to say anything eloquently, it seems difficult to utter anything for that matter. But anyway, based on the commentary given by the so-called the Karme Kenshin or Rinchen Dargye, and I will give some explanations which I hope will lead towards fulfilling your wishes.
다 자게를 가셔서 에 라마르에 아 영문다 쟤네 간다 나도 시들산에 당연히야 차신 중에는 맞아야 거네요. 나 지금 다음에 차신에서 아주 가서에 이제 다 가서에 다 상알라메기 냠내서에 다 이제 배 더버지 와지 아주 되지 공파름식 년나 섬도 되지 운동 잡고를 되바다 동아 잡고증 안 삼에 심규리야 여배 인주산에 뒤준센 때네 아니 지 삼에 지 자기 전부당 안지 저거 준비 지 쉬고 쉬어라 전화 수제 용되요 다디 도신서래 다 예비네야 아니 다 자기 전부당 저거 전부 사디 뭐네 지다다 차게 침불이야 지금 동남내 시에 에너지 차게 침불사지 나네 시에 차게 침불 아니 님부 퇴행이 차게 침불사 차게 침불이야 숨도 다 숨을 좋아해 단 도나 차게 침불사디 답은 동남내 시에 있는데 지 어제 삼사지 유동이 베라 삼사 대화시부 시베닝부사들이야 근데 삼사지 러시기 먼저거에 동발해야 지 대화치부기 이시 민가다고 이제 여기 있어요 아니 가시에 다 유진기 이시 다 능구인 다 냠샤 이시서 말하다 레레지 차게 준비 민가다샤 이제 용구여비 그래 단 도나 강다리야 에너지 니루 또베 이세당 아니 디 또자 니루 트도르 딘데지리아 지 차게 준비기 그래서 딘데지기 강이야 레유여비 인주산에 다디 람산지 지 시자 칸면지리아 아니지 소리다지 그냥 아주 총어를 깨면 시자 칸면 버려야지 공제 시험을 깨셔야기나 근데 저지네 튼신 민유비 니즈가 용되어 근데 주산 뒤주세 때는 해야 정한 수양 시제기 저 차가 준비 대저다 니루 터도 배 유경의 차비는 니루 터도 동반이다 다들 좀 통야 아니지 유진이 이시 동니 도배 이시로 근데에 니루 도배 이시 데배 공도 추브자 다들 제도지 요 총리 사다 등이자 근데에 사장기 토론 배거디 하장기 계속 이스라엘
So when we talk about Mahamudra, probably the general notion that we have is some sense around the highest achievement within the Vajrayana context, and a tremendous wish or desire to the point of experiencing agony towards experiencing that which is the highest or the most ultimate. So it seems the desire to experience, be it Chagyachimbo, Mahamudra and Dzogchen or Mahati, comes from that strong wish that it is some lofty place or level of insight that one wants to reach. Anyway, in enumerating that possibility, and one can approach from the so-called the Sutra Mahayana stand and the Tantraya Mahayana the Mahamudra Sutra Mahamudra stand, and also the Tantra Mahamudra perspective, and then at the same time the essential, the Mahamudra perspective, focusing the essence of it. So there are generally 3 such perspectives in attempting to understand Mahamudra, and that is laid out. And so approaching from the Sutra Mahamudra point of view, when we try to conceive of what that is, we talk in terms of Tathagata Garbha, or Buddha nature, and the view of the Buddha nature is from one perspective seen as the fundamental, non-referential emptiness nature of all phenomena. Yet from another perspective, that it has an objective angle to it, that while to the point of inconceivability, but a reference in the way of primordial wisdom, and innate primordial wisdom is the ground. So it is therefore approached from that point of view. In any event, we are talking about realizing the fundamental, profound nature of reality and how to go about actualizing that or approaching that. So therefore we should be able to appreciate that this is not something we can achieve instantly or instantaneously. This is not to be viewed as some that easy task. And because if we do that, then it's like without any ground for practical reality, we would be entertaining lofty, impractical ideas of possibilities. For instance, even when engaging in some practical, business, and to make it a realistic, good business deal, you must have laid the grounds for some business to actually take place. But without any ground having laid for some practical business and profit to be able to think of from the very beginning charging an enormously high price would be totally unrealistic. So first we need to recognize to be realistic, have to create a workable ground. And that workable ground in this context is determined by laying the ground with the twofold accumulations and the twofold purifications.
Your married? No. Mambo Shana, the Jugoman, Tangi, Mambo Shana, Shetu Marta Suji, at the Kajure, Tangania, Yanama Maja Roach. Tabe Sasang, Toloma, Beva Cheneji, Kasu, Nilu, Shakasha Mungo to Jurusa, the Mion, the Yonta Mera Summerway. There's a pair of Jishavina. Betele, Betty, Nisha Metro. That Betelea and Derata, Bena 다 치워 파토서만 아주 파르디기 남샤셰로 돌이야 엔디 치워 파도 셰베 거래야지 가르 마지 따라베 나와도 망가 단도나지 치리 망고지 셰야 다디수 셰 먹어제 봐 단도나지 라베 나와도 망가네 지시버 참면서 레두사 하는 걸리걸지 가서 외세에 샤용 거지 지셰야 로다 다디 외세데 아주 외세 샤게 좀 셰야 돼야지 디 외세데 벌써 저거 다디 외세 차디 여러 외세 코랑 샤도 다들 문에 가서 쭈쭈 미고가 샤용 거래 근데 이미네 디디 그 된지가 없다 외세 샤비네야 지 가서다 그냥 랑오랑가 맛이 제제 다 제타리도 현선에 장도 간다 지 간다 응어르지 맞춰 제제 아니 그런 요새 시샤비네 고 디고 가서제 냠내 람 땅토야 중고 뭐 다 디베 다 베베 샤비미나 베베 디베나 나도 디즈니랜드 유니버시티 스튜디오에 디즈니랜드 침베이나 아니 가리난 조르스나 아니 바제지 그 삼사지 로선데 니바 가서 롤러코스터 가서 되게 가서 되게 구슈규 야 다른 좀다 어다 구슈규서 되는 조사 야다 데르 두버지 데다지 고미 드리 아주 침브리 나니 주주산에 고수스도와 오늘 주주산에 아주 삼진나르베 타르 무슈지리아치 에네베마 뚜므리 무슈지사 야베 타르 무슈지리아치 베 나와르셔 오늘 주주산 굽자데 구조자데 두스도와 굽자데 구조지 소소 구조자데 할레디도 쓰고 제가 계속 굽자 구조지 소소 구조자에 대해 하거나 드니시라라 디 뇨르주 오 데 구조자데 거에 마도 문에 야르 지 가서 톰보질이야 안드로메 마사지라 만드로메 다 구조자데 구조자데 소소로 텐주사 랑랑을 지신인두 에너지 지가 디스 추초로 조도 쓰도와 다들 베베의 생명으로 제가 드레를 지 가서 갑디두산한테 뭐 트러블을 드레 맞중심 다 텔레지 사장 타부자 고마다 지술에다지 손이 배 사드니 차사 근데 강고 말딩이 다 베베를 두 샤비 미나 퍼지 디소를 제제 가다지 사장 그 털을 만배배 인비나 내로 뭐도 주버 이내야 아직 못 주고 말해 뭐 맞춰도 내로 뭐도 주 내로 제제도 보다 샤용비네 안디고 가져다지 라도 렌체 얘는 되어줘야지 게 용구요 말해 아디 지생고 있어
So without the groundwork of purification and accumulation in place, it's just simply not possible to accomplish this goal, no matter how much is desired. So, how unrealistic it is to wish for something when you have not laid the ground for it. So I'll attempt to explain this by giving you an example and also an example of the example at the same time. So first, the example is when you learn about the intermediate state between death and birth, the bardo, and it is said that among the different types of bardo, the the birth of death, it is said that the process of the bardo of death happens by the dissolution of the gross appearances and absorption, and therefore dissolution of the gross appearances, and thus leaving the mind or the consciousness naked, in the sense so that the fundamental nature of clear light simply becomes manifest. And so what has become manifest is the clear light nature, without any effort, without any sort of work put into it. But the problem is the self-recognizing of that clear light doesn't occur, doesn't take place. That lacking the lacking the necessary groundwork, the recognition of it, or self-recognition, fails to be there. And even if the nature is manifesting, when you fail to recognize it, unfortunately, it doesn't serve the purpose. It just doesn't help. So that's the example. And an example to the example is, you know of or heard of Disneyland, the Universal Studio, and so forth. And so they have, of course, all kinds of the fabricated entertainment available. Among that, the roller coasters and other different apparitions appearing, and you find yourself rolling upside down and so forth. And then when you are going through that, obviously everything's like very real. There's tremendous fear and you panic and so forth. But if you knew that actually all that's happening is you're rocking in a chair, and some effect is made that you rock in a chair, nothing else is happening, your kind of little bit movement is happening and the chair is rocking and you attach that chair, and if there is so-called this self-recognition is there, no, there wouldn't be any great cause for concern, fear, or for that matter, panic. But that not being so, there being, again, example of the example is that being no recognition. You fall for the illusion. You fall for the gimmick. And the result is, of course, and the fear and panic. So, in this way, that, again, to sum it up, that if there isn't the basis for the recognition of the true nature through the twofold accumulation and the twofold purification, then even if the nature has become manifest, one wouldn't get it. One wouldn't recognize. And if there's no recognition, then you can't get any use out of it, any benefit out of it.
당한 터지지도 다 가장 저기 고문은 자 주주요르스 제가 제 전에 저기 강에 세세요데 자기에 돌려야 되지 당 아마도 수지민도 누구도서민도 누구도도야지 네 자기에 돌 세베도 모두 시계에 공장 냥이 나도야 벽에 이지상 시도서 재미도 공장 이지도 야보면 돼 주주야 아지.
So, I was told that earlier some people were asking during the teaching, would there be time for meditation? So now, obviously, looks like there is time. And I was told that there are a number of Chinese-speaking students here, and there's no one to translate, and looks like the finger is being pointed towards my direction, and I'm left to bear that burden. And so, therefore, while I bear that burden of translating, and you all have the good time of meditating. Meditate, and then when we talk in English and in Tibetan, and that time those who don't understand Tibetan and English can have time, break for meditation. Isn't that a good idea? That's pretty good, yes. We'll do it that way then.
Sound effect. Something? Machi milare vega sound effect chini that sound effect is so good.
During the Milarepa's performance, we had to try a number of sound effects. So it's a habit. It has become a habit since then. Try different sound effects.
That is that did you nilu tover chavalaya, si tomarchi nilu matoba tover chava. Nilu matoba tover chavalaya, energy persuasion, lamatsi the damage. But nilu matoba tover chinging, lamanjay, lamatsi the damage. Lamati debit, Tava Norwachi. Teach top Manorwat and Yamso Langne, and in Yamne. Namachi, that there's something never to go others.
So in order for one to recognize or realize the authentic nature that one has not. No. So in order to realize or recognize the authentic nature that one has not realized, one has to approach an authentic master. A master who embodies it, so an authentic master. And from an authentic master, one has to receive the skillful means of instruction unmistakenly. Correct instruction. And that correct instruction need to be practiced, embraced thoroughly.
That Lamia go sharing, but just in order to read that Mangushas Shikatsuya. Mangushas asked him into the day, meaning the Jodi, Lamatsi that they were Tatanga, so they have a 10 to Yavina. What are the Moneji Kasuji? Gave a singing Kawata. And the switching to Tembe, Pena. And the Chitaraji switching to something need you want to do that, the on a water chef says, and Tembaina, and it's Cindy turn to soon so to the Sondo. That Casey and the other gave us anything Demba money about did it as Mary Mina. That one is singing that. Manorwaji Zewa
So the most important being having the opportunity to approach, that is, to rely on an authentic spiritual master. And so numerous things can be said about it, but maybe not at this moment. In any event, if one is already in contact with an authentic Lama that one can fully rely on, then one should make use of that connection. Through appreciating what it means, one needs to learn more about how to appreciate it from the point of view how rare and difficult it is to come into contact, to be able to rely on an authentic spiritual master, what tremendous benefit could come from this relationship, and the benefit that will become manifest within this lifetime and future times to come. So in this way, that one need to appreciate the value of this such relationship. In the event that one does not already have connection to an authentic spiritual master, then first important thing to bear in mind is that it is extremely important that one connects with an authentic or an unmistaken that spiritual teacher.
따지당 계획신이 살고 친이라 되면서 하장 계획이 있지. 가서다 이제 이미네다 예서다 계획신이 친이라 되면서 얘도 마셔지지. 얘도 수수는 아주 계획신이 땡에 가사 뒤면다 계획을 지셔야 다지 계획을 자리에 그래서 얘나 계획신이 친이라 되면서 내 돈도 땅에디 수수로 땅에디 미겨겨지나 아니 고 괜찮다 배지 윤대 대바라야 윤대제도 마통 아니 윤대도 미대바라 윤대제도 통도 아닌 거 내가 아주 대비해 샤리나 버지 랑 개와 마서先要错这样写都对说说我下了对吧哈不我嘛这你没现在要点通过了가르잖아. 신 요대로 가르잖아. 신다 말은 소송 고샤로는 대대의 인자 아니 믿은 고샤로 될 동거. 다 이미는 소송 고샤로 될 하마 어제 미신다 요대로 동거요. 제가 계획신이 많이 맞에 거는 얘네 소송 퀄리파이 좀 말거든. 미리 좀 선에 배지 로 수르 내봐다. 순내 얘네 계획신이나 친이 참자 마다 거는 버지지. 얘네 아주 소소배 친이 참아 가서 다지 tangible chari keshmi sar ne indusana gewe shinye mate bengon do ya ane rani singi chang jire do min do beji ta ba chama da rani singi chang ji goya de keshmi ren do la gewe shinye den sa shu la da la ba do ji sam ju ni ji ko ne din ju che che ora ji lo ma ne de singi ji che go ye singi da de ma che go ye be ta tebe yang ki o singi chang ji ji gyoba tita shema or sirim. Dine Hindustane, rani di bhaji ji lamgi zawa shenyen di sungpa sungpa arda, mine gozu ardi bhaji nyane susu ne ji yongda arda ji susu nyane di tsingi tsangwa ji takanda lo sur nema. Dine ji gi kasa ji gi lama zayi Hindustane lama tenbi ne tsingi da tenpa ji rendo mindo ho karso lo sur nebe ton daji chayi Hindustane kora ngui nizu de tunbe toane ane ji khasoda ji tsingi da temba ji rendo mindo ngoshen a ji da yunguru ne Hindustan da ji gejo do tri ji
so while what constitutes authentic spiritual master and also the characteristics of attributes or the characteristics of an authentic spiritual master is of tremendous importance. I feel maybe it's more important to talk about who is looking for an authentic spiritual master than the authentic master who has all the characteristics of an authentic spiritual teacher. Because that someone is looking for an authentic spiritual master. He or she must have certain qualities that are necessary to be able to appreciate. It takes one to know one, sort of from that point of view. So that he must have some qualities. For instance, if someone, as we say, has crooked eyes, cross eyes, then you see others in that way too. And so, better check on how you are in first place and then you have a sense of a reflection, you are talking about. And so, the authentic characteristic of a student seem to be the first one that's necessary in that. Because whether you will find an authentic spiritual master or not depend on, whether you are endowed with the ability to be able to recognize and appreciate. And there is another analogy or example to say that if you are, fallen flat on your face on the ground, and you're looking at someone and you see that person is like crooked, or the saying goes, you don't recognize yourself being upside down or lying flat, and you see the others crooked. So first you need to recognize that you are upside down, and that's why you are seeing the way you're seeing. You think the other person is in the wrong position. Actually, that failing to recognize you yourself is in the first place in the wrong position. That's how you see it. I hope you got that part anyway.
Maybe you need to do here.
If demonstration is necessary.
Body language. Okay, this is something.
So, it is absolutely necessary that if one wants to have an authentic spiritual teacher, then one must have the characteristic of an authentic student. And so it's like needless to say, that one actually should go first. And the importance of being an authentic vessel or student continues to become more important along the way. That if one has the opportunity to be in contact with an authentic spiritual teacher, then that in order for one to be the appropriate container, to be able to contain the instructions, and one has to continue to upgrade one's ability to be an authentic student. to be able to appreciate the benefit of it. So for that to occur, first one has to place oneself in sort of the right sense of mind. One has to be in the right sense of mind. And with the facility of sensibility approaching what's sort of the practical basis from which one can go further.
Computer de nalo le bena ji computer yebje tele ya be kaso di website yebje chana ane be ji ko information shado sta be sanghe na zo sto tre ta sosola goya khari mdi ane be ta da sosui gi kaso da information goya khari min di ji sosui manoro cheje ane lengu do ma da be ndame da gangalong ya information user di len de bina ko ji pe society mi yu do do mi la do ba de ma yin che ne du sa ne la me tan ha su nang le ya la me we ne ta kan da ji so so le ta ka su be ne ji number kan ji de na ba yin ne de ka su da ji la ma den sa be shu go le ya ta ka sa de la ma den sa be shu go le ya an la ma di rang le ya ji number be kyun dang kyun gi number bo ya na yuen de gi number bo kan ji de be yin bi ne ya ta kyun gi kan ji de be yin na ta ti ju so so ngwe ne de le ya ka shu ji dang wa xie xie ba ji dang an de le ya ka shu de ji lang dor xie xie ba de ge shu ji da do ane 다가는 신 에너지 고란 라마친이라 대바 지역의 이미네 뒤총이야 대지가 지금 미지 총라다는데 총세요 라메 총도 대바 저시기 지상 견조사 그라 하브레 근데 라메 총도 대체 라메 총도 대체 지 오늘 전에 지 담배취 내마지 지 주수야로 이제 배주를 지 제세 엔지 담배취需要다 지 센디지 센디기베 가서지 다지 개별주야 점이 스치면 변주기 대주주야 진짜지 배주를 제제 로종 제 배주제 냠내 제비 미나 다고 라마 때문에 되게 버쳐 아들이 이 근전 된 저기 그래서 샤워는 컴퓨터 저거 처음에서 내주 산다 컴퓨터 사는 쿠랑 왜내지 아니 가서다 소수용 외에 아무리 유스 상황으로 다 배주를 제 맛이에나 배매를 차는 컴퓨터 배주 제시했지 배주 제시해 정도 마세베 아니 소소리야 오늘 고야디 가리임버디 아니 고 좋아를 때만 지시해를 주체하고 있는 사람은 소소 고야디 인포메이션 가리임버디 아서 주시자 내가 도나 소수 미위의 주제 가리임버디 말아셔야 돼 계속 시작하지 담보지 라마 자연주 산에 소수 미위의 주제를 지 통마지 통마지 예체 라마 대자지 다양지 가사서지 가서지 잘 주제 연주 산에 미위의 주제 상마에 또세 제체네 배지 가서지 미를 신다지 그러서 제 연이어를 그래 자면은 계산하셔요. 제 연주 산에 통매기 쓴게야 아주 주제 가리네 tem majer cheche energy lama sushi de ada lama tempati energy kafwe ta mashu ban de manoro cheba normal service. This is government check the case of rights.
So the second thing that is important, I feel it's of imperatively important, is the one's attitude of motivation and application, engagement with that motivation in connection with approaching or relying on an authentic spiritual master. And so the importance of the motivation and the engaging in the relationship, how that is important is, for instance, that oftentimes the relationship can become just a matter of the custom. It's sort of a customary formality that one has a relationship based on that, or based on very short-sighted worldly interest, such as to be able to become free from illnesses and whatever untoward happenings in one's life, or towards being able to prosper materially and such other worldly interest, and lacking anything in the way of far-sighted, pure vision. So the approach, or the way that one rely on an authentic spiritual teacher in terms of both motivation and engagement is critical. So one example that I can think of, I was talking about that earlier and this morning, is that in a way approaching an authentic spiritual master is like approaching or working with a computer. As the computer has all kinds of information, and then when you are connected to the network, and you can browse and through various different websites, and you can download whatever information. Since there is so much information and so many alternatives, you better be sure of what is your goal. What is your initial goal? And being able and to be able to stay anchored in the initial goal, initial motivation. So otherwise that you can while you can get all kinds of information, just as you can get all the, the good and necessary and beneficial information, it may be that also you could become deviated and find all the sort of unnecessary going through the information. And so in approaching spiritual master, that one must make sure that one is approaching an authentic spiritual master, and that one should make the necessary choice in terms of one's approach, that whatever is to be embraced, that one knows, one has got the practical the intent to do, and whatever is to be sort of abandoned. For instance, that when one is approaching an authentic spiritual master, or for that matter, a spiritual master, one may be also see that faults, and so at such times one has to have the discernment to be able to disengage from whatever one should disengage from and engage with whatever it is that. So having the discernment to be able to make the right choice and provide oneself with all the necessary sort of tools and means that one can embrace. And at the same time, many times it can so happen that one is in the presence of an authentic spiritual master, and yet one fails to take advantage of the opportunity of what that means, and one fails to translate that opportunity into actual effective practice, and one gets sort of deviated by other worldly interest and not pursuing the interest of the long future, and that is towards the realization of complete, enlightenment. Because just simply being in the presence of an authentic spiritual master in itself, one should not think of that in itself will bring about one's experience of enlightenment or Buddhahood. One needs to put into practice and make use of that opportunity. So again, going back to the example of the computer, and it is important that one must know sort of how to use the computer, so to speak, and one must know what benefit one can get out of it, and don't put it to the misuse, don't sort of abuse it in that sense, don't put it. So all this again leads to the critical point of view, and clarify to yourself what is your fresh and initial objective, what it is that you want to accomplish. What was your initial, when you're initially approaching a spiritual master, what were your motivations, and what were your approach for when you were searching for a spiritual master? What were your initial motivation and the way you want to engage in that kind of relationship? And so after searching and putting all the effort and work into it, when things are just about to fall in the right places, then like you have become a different person. All of a sudden your motivation, your objectives have changed. And so then that would be very, very unfortunately unrealistic. And so in a way, questioning to oneself, what is your initial motivation, what is your real motivation and attitude, and what action, what engagement will support that fulfillment of that motivation unmistakably.
Okay. That was it. It is that. That in Sangenia. But it is that in Nangenia. Reaching a shot, I'm sustaining the Devina. That's I get some around and get sure to wear a minute, Karsutaji, Kalakan Samruchi. Yena, Chakacham Mune, the Karsue, sing it, Sang, Shed, Lame Mengada, that Wabayaji, Chilabi. Karsuzi, Cuba that there, Mune, Gormat, Chakacham Sarji, Sham from Chaving, Sham Summer, Shabajar, Chaving. This is a medicated. Taibine, Taring out to take a mesa, Chagin mesa, and it's Gula Baja shadow, and the house commanded magic. That the day is a or the Kashe, the Sungudu, the Isare, Kashe, the Terangabajo, Paji, the Isamari. That Tamara Justan Karin Hakoda. Sedustan any that Kasha to Mogokanda, the day which is a magic, Gula Baja Javishama. To do show to the and sunny orbe. And sunny could some orbe and a carjority. Sunny to Jamda Norway. Yata, sunny Nani Masune. Missy.
So I will refer to the text and then see, what we can come up with tomorrow. And I doubt whether anything can really be said clearly along the line of Chagyachempo or Mahamudra. It's not something that anyone can attempt to explain, at ease, and without the groundwork of transmissions and in terms of instructions, in terms of transmission of blessings. Mahamudra is not, something just to talk about. Talking Mahamudra is not, actually, owning it. And so anyway, at least maybe auspicious conditions, ground can be created, and certain possibilities maybe will open up, and so such and such teacher or certain teachers posited this way and say such and such thing, so it must be, such and such, and certain teachers refute it and negate it, and so it must be not such and such thing. And so, therefore, sort of clearing one's way in this way. So, at the least, certain appropriate, maybe auspicious conditions can be created. Beyond that, of course, the other necessary facilities are maybe not present.
Sunny, and a Judy study. Nazu Toloki, I'm Tolo Jaggy, and a good Yamjon of a Kunan G. Maji Shero Sundu, Teliang, Takaru Sherina, some those quarters, some Richidustane. Gijan to soon came back. So church do. Tinam visit the shaman. Yaman any Gambo bed, Tabichus in Tavers, Pamutu those giving me Congaji or the deed on magician. Takarimine, Sunny to this yard, Tati, Hakwa Medodi. Cheta, Sunny to this yard, use the canal to young pennant to Gorda, and I give you to start to give me young at the Siamacho.
So there has been a request for some teachings by the Kagyu students studying at the higher institute and here at Sarnath. So His Holiness is considering teaching either on a treatise by Dosum Kempa, the first Karmapa, or a commentary on the four dharmas of Gambopa. Right now, we have not yet decided anyway either one of such, and so you're welcome to come and join. And while of course there is no guarantee for translators and translations.
I'm not sure this. I'm not sure. Maybe you can show. Sonam de damje zewa ni tomne ni be tanam bomje yega na je bala chuba yi sebe ro sho